Hello and welcome to another painting video. In this video I'll be painting some Seraphon Skinks and their Terrawing companions. This very fun Warcry warband is part of the new season of the game and I'm loving these sculpts. I had some fun with their bases and painting simple patterns on the lizards. I painted 3 variants to keep the warband interesting. For starters, I applied a standard zenithal highlight by first using black primer and then white spraying from an angle. Now let's begin, shall we? Let's start with the blue skinks. I first paint the hide with Aethermatic Blue. I try not to hit any of the other parts of the model because I will be using other contrast paints later. On the nice light blue base, I add a highlight of Fenrisian Grey mixed with blue horror. I then add a highlight of blue horror, giving the skink an icy blue hide. With Akhelian Green, I come in and paint a striped pattern on the skink. I went for tiger stripes on all my skinks, but you can go nuts here. I've never been a lizardman player, but I believe a lot of these small lizards were blue on the original art. I think a mix between light hide and dark stripes looks very good here. For the yellow greenish skinks, I paint the hide with plague bearer flesh. I then highlight the hide with a mix of Akhelian Green and Dorn Yellow. And I finish with a highlight of Dorn Yellow. I mostly focus on the highlights of the upper part of the model. Everything in shadow won't be seen on the tabletop anyway, so no worries in adding detail there. With Orc Flesh contrast paint, I paint the tiger stripes on the skinks. Using contrast paints for this is excellent. The paint won't wash out like, well, a wash, and it will add a natural shade all in one brushstroke. The same effect as the icy blue skink, only now with yellow and green. Although the hide of the lizard is pretty busy, the pattern still stands out. Let's paint the last variant. The color most associated with lizards. For this I paint the hide with Gutripa Flesh. A really fresh looking green. I personally love this contrast paint. With a mix of Skarsnik Green and Creek Khaki, I highlight the hide. And I end with a highlight of pure Creek Khaki. I paint his pattern with Grithound Orange. Only afterwards I realized I recreated the same color scheme as Battlecat from He-Man. Out of all the 3 variants, I think this one is my favorite. It's cool to use some contrasting colors for patterns, it seems. Let's go over some of these small details for all the skinks next. First, the eyes. I paint these with Dorn Yellow contrast paint. Layer them with Flesh Gets Yellow to really make the eyes stand out. And highlight the eyes with Dorn Yellow to add some reflection on the eyes. All the small horns I paint with Leviathan Blue. And highlight with Fenrisian Grey. I wanted to try out the new Toothing Coats paint, so I'm painting the tongue with Sword Hilt Burgundy. A really nice rich color. I highlight the tongue with Sword Hilt Burgundy mixed with some titanium white. I'm just gonna plow ahead with some shields. I paint these with a very watered down Stegadon Scale Green. This gives a nice faded turquoise look to the shield. I shade the shield with Athonian Camoshade. This dark green wash works really well with turquoise, giving the shield a more natural look. And I highlight with Nurgling Green. Weapons I'm keeping very simple. I first paint them with a mix of Sycorax Bronze and Balthasar Gold. This gives a very nice faded gold. I lightly dry brush Canoptek Alloy on all the weapons and jewelry. The rocks in the bolas get a coat of Basilicanum Grey, nice and simple. The blowpipes, together with all the rope on the skinks, is painted with Xandri dust. Then shaded with Agrax Earthshade. And highlighted with Carroburg Stone. Some of the skinks have frogs on their belts. I paint these with Blood Angel Red. And then highlight with Evil Sunz Scarlet. You can go any color really with these frogs, but I think red will make a nice spot color. I paint some patterns with a mix of Fulgrim Pink and White Scar. The eyes are painted with Black Templar. And the vials and darts that contain poison get a coat of Tesseract Glow. This gives a nice neon look to the poison. Skulls on these models are first painted with Ushabti Bone, then shaded with Skeleton Horde, and highlighted with Screaming Skull. The loincloths get a coat of Screamer Pink, and a simple highlight of Emperor's Children. And here we have all the skinks all ready. I think these three variants work really nice together. And because all the details are painted the same way across the warband, they still look like they belong together. Let's have a look at their winged friends. I want the Terrawings to look totally different, as they are wild beasts tamed by the skinks. I first shade the entire model with Targor Rage Shade. Next, I shade only the body and the limbs with Athonian Camoshade. This creates a very nice, natural looking green hide for the pterodactyls. The rough texture on the hide is shaded with Biel-Tan Green to create some diversity on the model. The wings and beak get a coat of Black Templar contrast paint. This shades really nice with the undercoat. Apply 2 coats to avoid any streaks. The greenish hide is highlighted using Ushabti Bone. The dark green is highlighted using Creek Khaki. And the black areas get a highlight of Dawnstone. 2 Terrawings have their mouths open. I paint these tongues with Carroburg Crimson. I thought the wings looked a bit boring here, so I added some shapes on the wings using Squig Orange. I roughly painted the shapes and blocked it in. Then, with a watered down version of the paint, I added another layer to make sure the color was nice and smooth on the wing. Finally, I highlight with Fire Dragon Bright. Let's give some attention to the base to make some cool looking jungle bases. First, I paint all the tree stumps with a Dryad Bark. I then roughly highlight the stumps with Gorthor Brown and highlight again with Baneblade Brown. The ruins and rocks get a coat of Basilicanum Grey. Then a dry brush with Administratum Grey. And I add some splotches of Plague Bear flesh to make them look mossy. All the leaves are painted with Gutripa flesh. And highlighted with a mix of Gutripa flesh and Dorn Yellow. As you can see here, I 3D printed a collection of jungle leaves to be placed on the bases. I got these from Epic Basing and a link is in the description. I added these plants to the bases. I made sure I had a little foot left on all the plants so they were easy to glue on. Next, I covered the base and the foot of the leaves with Sterland mud. I then pulverized some coconut fiber and added that to the base with wood glue. I must say working with those fibers is not the easiest, but the result is very nice. Just pulverize it to a dust and sprinkle it on your base and it will give you a nice wood floor texture. With the airbrush I sprayed the base with Nuln oil to darken the coconut fibers. This makes them look a little bit more realistic. And finally I painted the rim of the base with Steel Legion drab. The light brown works really nice with the jungle base. And here we have the most fun warband in the new season of Warcry. This is actually the only one I purchased, but I really like the sculpts. Especially the Terrawings look really cool. It was also fun to experiment with patterns and to give some extra attention to the base to make them look like they were stalking in a jungle. For my next video, I'm staying with skirmish games, but I'm making a jump 38,000 years into the future and paint a new kill team. The one of my favorite faction, the Death Guard. In the meantime, be sure to check out my Instagram where I will post pictures of current projects and behind the scenes stuff. But for now, thanks for watching.